Hello, Nikolai. All right. I want to give it a little bit more time and then we'll get started. It's now 5 minutes past the top of the hour. When we get to 70 people joined in, we'll get started. How does that sound to people? Should we do that? More webcams.
Well, I think you're just procrastinating, but yeah, fine. 70 is we're nearly there. You've got one more
Yeah.
person.
When am I not procrastinating? Sometimes I procrastinate about procrastinating. And we have a bunch more cameras. All right. And here we are. Very well. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this first ever town hall meeting in free software as part of the Linux Plumber Conference. The committee for the conference invites all of you to take part in this experiment. This is test chamber number 0, where we would like to demonstrate to you some of the features of the platform we intend to use for Linux Plumbers 2020 online edition. We're going to have some questions. We hope that you can participate there as well and see how things are going. We have some input from last year. Obviously, some of that is invalidated by the fact that everything's changed since, or almost everything has changed. And some of the decisions that are remaining to be taken as part of the project to put together the conference in just a few weeks now. So, without further ado, let me get started. Before I do that, I want to say one more time, thank you very much for your understanding. If things start breaking, it's the whole point of the exercise. If you get kicked out, if the video start lagging, if the audio starts stuttering, if something else fails, let us know. Take some notes, capture the things that you like, the things you don't like, what you'd like to potentially see changed. James' camera's angle come to mind. But let's figure all of that out so we can do all that in time for the beginning of the conference at the end of August. So, as a quick reminder, please keep your microphones and cameras muted when you're not actively participating, or if you want to turn them on, you're welcome to, but let's try to see how we can do that. The test chamber reference is a video game reference for those of you that don't know. It's the video game Portal by Valve, actually available on Linux, where you're taken through a series of puzzles and you're trying to survive through that. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing here. This town hall, as well as the entirety of the conference and the online presence for Linux Plumber Conference, is subject to the entire investment and code of conduct that the Linux Foundation has put together and the extension that's available on the Linux Plumber Conference website. I invite you to read it here or find it online at linuxplumbersconf.org. And the conference wouldn't be possible without our sponsors. So we're very, very thankful for everyone that found useful to donate to the project so that we could be here today and at the end of August. For many years, many of these companies have been the lifeline of Linux Plumbers Conference, and we couldn't do it without them and the Linux Foundation. At the diamond level this year, Facebook has signed up to give us a whole lot of resources to make this possible. Platinum level, NetApp, IBM, and Western Digital are carrying a lot of the load for making it possible. ARM and Microsoft Azure in particular at the gold level, and Collabra donated a little bit as well to provide catch boxes, which are going to be really hard to do virtually. We'll figure something out. The members of the 2020 LPC committee include, I'm not going to read everybody's name. You probably know most of them. For the very many of you that don't know who I am, my name is Guy Linardi. I work at Collabra. I've been on the committee for a few years, and I'm not going to bore you with details about me. Just one of many. Laura is the chair this year, and we're all very thankful for her guidance and stewardship. And the team has been hard at work to try to figure out what we were going to do about this edition in the middle of a global pandemic, which is still very much upon us. To that end, we had to make the very difficult decision to cancel our physical presence in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada this year. Even though it was a lovely destination, and I can honestly say Laura, Megan, and myself very much enjoyed the time that we spent in person there, All of the vendors were really lovely. We were looking forward to hosting as many of you as possible in this setting at the end of August when the weather is really lovely. When we were there, we were blessed with snowstorms and cold weather and strong winds, and it still was great. So I can't imagine what it would have been like for all of us to be there in August. Alas, that is not going to happen. We're going to be meeting virtually, and that is where we're putting 100% of our energy now. As such, we're rebranding. We're going to remove all the references to Peggy's Cove and the rest of Halifax, Nova Scotia. Goodbye, Northeast Canada. Maybe we'll see you again. We're going all virtual. We're going to have penguins everywhere. We're going to make it colorful. We're going to make it fun. We're going to try to make it so we're not all too sad to be sitting at our usual desk when we're going to meet. And the other thing we're trying to do is make it so it's not just another Zoom call or Blue Jeans or Google Meet or Microsoft Teams or insert whatever you've been using most lately. So 2020 online edition. It's intended to be pure open source. That's one of the things that Laura gave as a guidance. Everybody in the committee agreed. Let's see if we can do this on our own using our own software. And there's a lot of unique challenges to doing Linux Plumber Conference this way. Most significantly, micro conferences. If we really want to have a very strong engagement and make it possible for people to interact and engage directly, the micro conferences are going to be a challenge. We're working closely with the leads of those micro conferences already to see how we can best go about that. We believe that the tool would get us most of the way. The rest of it will be organizational and just making sure that we arrange it the right way. In order to do that, we wanted to not require a specific client and all that. So WebRTC it is. That's what you're using now. Your web browser is basically the client with an HTML5 front end.
We should add for people that what we want to do is to demonstrate with this session and we get the Microsoft micro conferences to work, which requires interaction like this. So an audience-based interaction would be useful, please, audience.
Yes. Well, we're going to get to plenty of slides where there are opportunities to chime in. Absolutely. Yes, definitely. The tool is called Big Blue Button. You can find it online. I see people are using the chat already, so you've been discovering a lot of the features. You can set emoji status icons for yourself, and we're going to list all of that. And of course, I should have said that, and thank you for interjecting, James. If you have a burning question for Christian, James, John, Laura, Elena, anyone, just shout out. It's the easiest way to make yourself heard. We were already online. So very briefly, what we had is we've adopted Indico for a while. It's a CERN developed project for their conferences. They've done it in free software, permissive license. We've been using that for a few years now. That's where the call for paper, the scheduling, a lot of the other activities have been taking place. It's now used by several other open source communities, fairly close to the kernel as well. We have a couple of mailing lists. We have WordPress for the blog, and we've used different paths in the past. So and all of that, the vast majority of that's been hosted by LWN very generously for us. So what does that look like going forward? Before I do, important reminder, the call for proposals are open. Christian is helping us with all of the social media outreach, but please, if you haven't submitted your great idea already, go submit. That's what Indico is for. Call for papers are open. CFP, I will try to repeat myself as often as I can. People should put a cron job on the public chat to keep bringing people that we need your proposal so we know how we structure the conference. We still don't have a good feel for how many talks we're going to be hosting. So the soonest you submit your proposal and we can review it, the earlier we'll know how much time we need to allocate for everything. So again, submit now. A little bit more about Big Blue Button. What is it that we're looking at? And maybe John can give us some updated statistics again since then. Apparently, we're at 73% idle now with 81 users connected. This is a big spaghetti of software like most average to full stack software is today. Big Blue Button orchestrates a bunch of services. There's an IPC Redis 5 mechanism that coordinate the big ones being Currento, for the WebRTC material, media controller, MC. There's a custom SFU WebRTC device behind that is using FreeSwitch for audio still. It's doing that because it supports technically a SIP bridge or a phone bridge, features we've decided we were not going to enable. So maybe one optimization would be to not use that and allow Corento to be the media controller for all of the medias, audio and video. It still uses Etherpad integration. If you go to the shared notes right now on the top left corner of your screen, you'll see that those notes might look familiar because it's actually using Etherpad. It's just an embedded frame of Etherpad inside of that interface. And finally, if any of you are taking part of Open Source Summit North America or Embedded Linux Conference North America, you'll be happy to know that it's actually using LibreOffice in the backend for slides management. So you can upload a PNG file, you can upload a PTPT, a PDT, a PDF, a ODT, a PPTX, and it will convert all that content for you. Imagine that. These slides were generated on Google Slides, exported as a PDF, re-imported into the tool. And for those of you that care about the absolute gritty details, it turns out I looked very quickly. It's using a Meteor backend to run LibreOffice that renders an SVG output of the content on your screen right now. All right, so there's a question here, and maybe
I suppose we should add here. No, it's not a question, it's a comment. It only basically shares content. So if you're doing live demos, you have more of difficulty. You can do it with videos, but realistically, it doesn't do screen shares. It's a bit of a problem.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I can do screen share right now.
Demo.
Yeah, of course.
I thought you uploaded the content.
No, you can. Well, it's the nice thing about content management. You can upload your content there, and you can also do screen share. We will demonstrate that now, since there was a question about this. If I go here, you'll see the content is changing. It's removing the slides, and instead it's uploading. It's pre-rolling the video buffer, and you can see a specific Google tab of a Google search for James Bottomley. So, and you can interact with the content of the window. If you want to share a full XHSM screen capture of a desktop, you could do that as well. If you want to share an entire window, you can do that also. Screen sharing is enabled. There's a list of all the features that we're going to go through next. If anyone here is so crazy to be wanting to raise their hand and help us with any of the building blocks in these components, the entire LPC committee, John in particular, will be extremely thankful to you. So I see everybody else saw that, right? Paul gave us 2 thumbs up. So I'm thinking that means Paul is volunteering to take over the management of the site and the implementation. Is that right, Paul?
Careful what you wish for, Guy. Keep in mind that my normal view, I can't even see the bottom of the system call layer from where I sit.
Hey, at least we'll get to the point where we probably don't have any memory leak. So, you know, it might not work, but at least it'll be good.
We'll get to the point where we don't have any memory.
All right. So again, question here, and I'm being serious, if somebody feels like they know someone, they have somebody that could help, someone in their team, somebody they know that we should engage with. We've looked at a couple of consultancies that specialize in that. I should have mentioned Big Blue Button was created by academia. A bunch of universities got together. A bunch of the guys are based in Porto Alegre in Brazil. There's a few other places around the world, and several consultancies that specialize in setting up Big Blue Button for schools, for example. Unfortunately, what we need is a bit more specialized, so we reached out to the contributors to the project who would be useful for us. So far, we've had limited success in getting back to them, but John and I will continue to do that. All right, I will keep going. We have a few more slides to go through. So, like I said, we have some demonstrations that we can give you. Obviously, we've seen already that audio and video is working. Well, mostly my audio and my video are working. You heard James, you heard Paul. Some other people can shout out and show that. I've mentioned the slides upload abilities of the system. And let me repeat again. The nice thing about that is if you want your slide content to be integrated into the player, the content gets pre-rolled as the presentation, so it's a much smoother user experience. You can go back and forth, and it enables other functionalities as part of that as well. For example, I have a red dot pointer so that I can highlight that. I don't have to just rely on my mouse cursor to be forwarded in a screen share. I can actually have an overlay of a laser pointer on the slide, which makes it easier to indicate what we're talking about. I just showed screen share for a window, a Chrome tab. I can show you a screen share of an actual window. I'll pick a Chrome window again. This is what the live stream window looks like on my end. It takes a few seconds to synchronize, but you see now you get the window decorations as well. I can open up another tab. So if you have a web-based demo you want to do, you could do that. I could screen share the other screen I have over here, but obviously you're going to have the infinity loop. That's not very pleasant to look at. So I'm not going to do that for you right now. But screen share is working nicely. You can make other people presenters. You can make other people moderators. There's a bunch of user features that we could discuss there. There's a polling feature that I'll turn on in a little bit, and we have whiteboard capability on slides. I'll demonstrate that right now very quickly. I can draw on the page circles, and I can write. There you go. And so you have shapes and lines, and you can freeform draw as well, of course.
So tell me how I draw on the screen. I have to take presenter, right?
No, well, I can. So let's look at that. So if for example, if you have placed in your slides the ability to have a whiteboard over here, I can write on here as well and say, and I could have the very terrible idea of actually enabling everyone to participate. So if I click over here, you will see that on the right-hand side of your screen, now everybody can just mess around. Look at that. Didn't I say this was going to look like Portal? What a social experiment right there. You guys are brilliant.
Terrible.
You guys are brilliant. And then people wonder why we don't get anything done. All right, that's enough. And the nice thing about that is if I go back to the previous slide, you see the content being here. But if I come back, it actually retains the notes on the whiteboard. So if you include in your material slides where you would do that for microconferences, you can actually have, it's actually funny, it's still drawing some of the lines. I wonder what that did to the server, John, when we enabled that feature, because it looks like it's still trying to catch up on some of the drawing. That took
a moment for the server to deal with when everybody was messing around at once.
Yep, I figured it's still drawing some of it. I can still see the content changing. But on a slightly more useful slide, if, for example, I'll come back over here and we say that we would want to do things a little bit differently, I could say, so this component is something that is very important. The bill, obviously, this custom one is as well. Potentially, we're looking at getting rid of something like this, and not using free switch. That's kind of the idea of how you would be using that. So if you are conscious about how you put the content together on the slides, then it's a little bit easier to do that. I'll turn this on for just a second again so you guys can see your cursors. And then obviously there you go. All right, so that's yet another feature that we have enabled over here. You found the public chat. There is a private chat feature available as well. If you left click on a user, you'll be given the opportunity to have a conversation with them. The public chat is visible to everyone. A few of us will, in microconferences, in the referee track, in the kernel summit track, have the ability to moderate. If somebody is misbehaving or not respecting the code of conduct, we can tell them, we can mute them, we can invite people to get unmuted as well, and we eventually, if it comes to that, we can remove users if need be. That's it. I showed the screen sharing. There isn't, you can't really see that, but I can upload access to a video stream. So if you have a demo that you pre-recorded on YouTube, on Vimeo, on Twitch, or wherever, you can actually pass that URL directly to the web client, and then that web client will embed that video instead of the slides for the duration that you want. So if you want to pre-record a demo and then provide that to the users, you can do that easily as a presenter by clicking on the presenter icon you guys can see actually, and share an external video that way, which is a convenient way to pre-record a video. But if you just want to share a terminal and things like that, you can easily share an entire desktop window, or you can just share your one terminal window to be able to do that also. Are there any questions at this stage that we could take right now? We're coming up to the 25-minute mark, so I want to go a little quicker and see if there's any question at this time. Going once, going twice. I haven't been able to keep up on the...
Wait, guys, we actually do need you to ask stuff because we want to know how the audio mixing works. That's going to be an important part of the question, so say something.
Right. Let me go through the next few slides and then we can look at that. We have some of the survey results. Things went well. People were hoping that we could go back and forth between locations. Obviously, that wasn't taking into account the pandemic. Oh, I'll show you one neat feature that we can enable. Right now, if you look on the lower left corner of the slides, there is nothing there. But one thing I can do is when I go back to the upload management interface, I can enable a feature that will allow you to download the presentation. And after I've done that, on the lower left corner now, there's a download icon in black that appeared. And if you click on that, it actually will enable the audience to download the exact slide content that is being shown right now. So if for some reason you have an urgent need to share content, etc., you can do that built into the tool itself. Some of the survey results, 98.5% of respondents in last year's survey organized by Kate. Thank you so very much, Kate, again, for taking care of that. It's a lot of work and we appreciate you spending the time to do that. We're very highly satisfied with the experience. So it's a very high bar to mark. I don't think we can expect an online edition of LPC to match that. But there is a question here, and that's a question that I would like to invite others to chime in for. So if you have any idea or suggestions on how we could make this more interactive, like James has been inviting us to do, if there is any way that we could replicate impromptu discussions or hallway tracks during LPC 2020, now would be a good time to shout out. If there was a conference you recently attended that does that well, let us know. Maybe we can try to replicate that. If you've seen something that didn't work, maybe we should know about that too. So I'll stop here for a second and see if somebody has something they would like to contribute to help us with this aspect where honestly we're still struggling with, and we hope we can come up with something. Anyone?
Okay, let me ask you to criticize Bian's background and also accuse him of doing it on a Mac because I think that's where it was done, right? Shame on you for not using open source software. You need to unmute yourself, Bian.
If it's fast enough, you can do that on Linux.
It's OBS. I'm doing it with OBS.
On Linux?
In this particular case, it is in fact on a Mac. But I have it running upstairs on OBS for a conference we're doing later this morning.
And if you don't like Macs, the way you recognize them is the fact that their video camera is 9:16, not 4:3 like the rest of us on Linux.
I'm just not using the good camera. I had it on. I have to set it up anyway. I've got several cameras.
We're using OBS as well for the live streaming right now, and the frame capture, audio capture and playback is all done using OBS as well. So if you get a chroma key and you want to do a fake background, you can do that on Linux as well. Doing it well.
Yeah, in this particular case, actually, James, the reason why you're seeing that is actually because I've cut off the sides of my green screen. It's nothing else.
I like the way you lose your arms as soon as you put them out. That's a fun effect.
Yeah, I'm afraid Kate wasn't able to join us for this session, I believe. I'm scrolling down to see if I can see her name. She she had mentioned she had another meeting. Obviously, this was a little bit last minute, so some of us weren't able to join. But I wanted to say again, we're very thankful for her work on the survey to keep us going there. So yes, I don't want to call out anybody in particular, but again, if you have any ideas on ways that we could do the participatory side of things, that would be great. Laura, you turned on your camera. Maybe you want to say a couple of things about how things went last year and some of the concerns or things you're excited about doing it online only in 2020, maybe.
I'm very excited about doing everything online. I do wish we could have done it in person, but it just wasn't possible. More than anything, I'm excited about the chance to get people who might not have otherwise had a chance to travel in. We've been looking about a good way to hopefully be able to increase that and get everyone participating. Yeah, I'm just excited for this going. And also one other thing is I'd also like to say someone else who isn't here is a big thank you to everyone at the Linux Foundation who also helped support us as we get through providing a lot of the support for everything behind the scenes as well that oftentimes perhaps you don't know. So yes, a big thank you to everyone at the Linux Foundation in particular, Megan Knight and Angela Brown, who have both been very helpful for doing everything.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Laura. And thank you for your stewardship of the efforts this year. All right. With that, we'll go to the buffs. So we just turned on the call for paper for proposals for buffs earlier this morning. So if you have an idea for a Birds of a Feather session, let us know. And one of the things that the tool enables you to do is ask for poll questions. So I want to do one right now with a simple yes, no question. So you should see prompting a question with a polling option at the bottom of your screen. 20 of you have already found that. It basically enables you to provide immediate answers to questions. Obviously, you either have to have the speaker ask the questions and ask for and wait for the answers to come in, or you could very simply have them baked into your slides. Again, very careful planning on your slide content will be important to provide a good user experience here. We now have 40 respondents in the survey out of 70, which is pretty good. Some of the others have walked away from their computers. They burned themselves with their coffee, or they can't find the mouse. If you guys could see the surface of my desk, that last option is probably the most likely one. It's funny, the people that responded first mostly said no, and then now yes has taken over quite significantly.
Okay. So Guy, we're getting a lot of complaints in the chat about BN being too soft, which is very unusual for him at a conference. Could you give us some tips about how to set up our video and microphone things to participate properly?
Yes, I think that there are a lot of resources available online that the Committee for Plumbers will need to compile in order for us to give a good idea of what the do's and do nots will be for LPC. It's a very good question. There's a lot of factors that are important there. We're looking at ways that we could potentially make the presenters and the active participants experience a little bit more consistent at LPC 2020, more on that in the future. But certainly, at least some guidelines. We want to make sure that the Linux clients are first-class clients, first of all. But you know, camera placements, lighting, microphone gain, microphone placements are all things that need to be taken into account. And then we will have a dedicated page for that. I hope we have a way that we can run through rehearsals for the presenters and we find the time to do that so we can tune and adjust the content and their presentation situation as best as possible. We joked about this internally in the committee, saying that there are a few things we can't really fix. You know, internet bandwidth and connectivity issues are things that are doomed to happen. But at least we can try to make the rest of it as consistent and good as possible. All right, I will close the poll results and publish them now.
You haven't shown the results yet, Guy. Somebody complained about that, who should have unmuted themselves and complained, Toki.
Yes, there you go. So they show up as an overlay on the slides on the lower right corner. You can see 74% of the people said that we should do more buffs. So there you go. I found a few people. I took the names of the people that said no, and I will be coming to you after class. Kitty. All right, let's go. Let's move on. some of the real challenges that we have. So obviously registration is open. If you'd like to participate, $50 available now. You can go to the website on the attend page and find the link to the registration site. We invite you to do so as early as possible. Again, so we get an idea of how many people are interested and how much of an uptick we need. Is the server capable of handling 100 users enough? Are we going to get something closer to 500 to 600 people like we do when we're on site? Or do we need to get even more than that and we're flirting with maybe 1,000 users demand, which would be very challenging for a small committee like us that have a lot of other things to deal with. So please register early so we have a good idea of what things might look like. Again, the registration link is on the attend page.
I think somebody alluded to it early in the chat, but is it going to be kind of like a gated thing that you could only get to here? Like this seemed pretty open to just click the link and join, but is it going to be kind of like only registered people will get a link at first to stop people from like dropping in?
We are
Zoom bombing.
Absolutely, Zoom bomb LPC. We are exploring our options. Yes, we believe that we're going to switch to an authenticated user access to the various rooms for Plumbers 2020. That's something that we hope to be able to test with you guys in the middle of July, maybe a little bit later. And we think that's a lot more fair for the people that will register to the conference. So yes, access to the big blue button interactive sessions will only be available to authenticated users, ergo registered users, paid users, if you will. Whether or not we're going to use YouTube streams or some other kind of live streams for viewing only is something that we're still discussing. There is one for this session right now. We may choose to do that, and whether or not that's open or not, we don't know. But the interactive user experience where you can participate will be gated as only authenticated users will have access to it. It's a feature that this front end for Big Blue Button provides. We turned it off for this session. And so yes, I invite you to register now so you know you can get in. We are gating how many people can register right now. As well, so that we can control that growth a little bit. We will extend that number probably. And again, it's so that we can provide a platform that will be as reliable as possible with all the caveats that I've mentioned before, and enable interaction. So thank you for voicing up. Thank you for having your camera on. Thank you for having your mic on. Thank you for sounding so good. And yeah, I hope that answered your question. The very first step of our registration right now is asking you a question. We're trying to figure out when to have plumbers during the day. There's people on this call from all quarters of the world. If it's flat, I don't know. But yeah, we want to figure out what time zones might be best. So when you register, there's a multiple choice question that you're asked to provide which time slots would work for you. So please take a second to think about how that works with your quarantine lifestyle and the times that you have available and all the other chores plus work that you have. We are going to try to look at a 5 days extension. So just keep that in mind as well as we go through that. All right. Anybody else wants to chime in on this? Any comment on the time slots already? Somebody feels strongly about that? I guess not. All right, we'll try it. Kieran.
How will the decision be made? Is it just whatever's the most participants can make, or will some sessions be duplicated so that Asia and America can see the same content?
That's a great question. Honestly, we do not know yet. We're thinking really hard about that. We've looked at some of the more successful conferences that took place recently. Big companies have taken different approaches. Some people recorded everything and they just shot it once, and that didn't seem very fair to people. And some others had a 48 hours marathon where their keynote speakers were up at all hours of the day to give a live presentation 3 or 4 times over. Where we're going to land in all of that, we don't really know yet. We want to see who wants to participate. I should stress that based on the registration information from past years, we have a lot of the geographical information about where people are based, so we can use some of that to educate our decision as well. At the end, we're going to try our best to make this work for as many people as possible. There will be people left out, and we already feel bad about that. It's Laura's decision. We're going to support her 100%. We're going to try to make the best one possible, but obviously we can't really cover everyone. We can't ask some of our presenters that are volunteering their time to do it more than twice, or maybe once is already a stretch for a lot of people. So maybe we'll do more recordings. Maybe we'll put the recordings right away online. We don't know. We're looking at every option, and we want to try to make it as accessible as possible, while figuring out that the interactive portion is the really important one for us. So yes. Some of the questions are right here. See, I had a slide prepared for that on some of the things that we're still trying to address. I don't know, Paul, you're very involved in a lot of that on the different tracks and the referee talks. Do you want to add something to the type of talks proposals that you've seen coming in for both MCs and referee track, and how you think some of that will potentially pan out?
So we're getting a lot of proposals, and that's good. We all obviously would like more. So as Guy said at the beginning, get your creative idea in there so we have it too. One additional thing I'll emphasize really is that if we have an MC where all the people are, say, in Australia and India and China, say, clearly that's going to tell us where the time zone is for that particular microconference. And that may be a problem, because that may be where all the active participants are, but where's the audience as well? So we'll need to have, if we want to take that sort of thing into account, we'll need people to be a bit more active than we did in the past about letting the microconference leads know that you're interested in their microconference. Because if we see all the leads are in, say, Australia, maybe it's a embedded PowerPC thing or something, but there's a whole pile of people in Europe who want to see it. If we don't know about that, we'll probably set the time zone for, I'm in North America, so left to myself, I make it North America and Australia, I'm as self-centered as the next guy, right? Mm-hmm. So we'll need a little more help from the participants and the audience members to help us with this decision. So I think that's most of what we got here. Back over to you, Guy.
Thank you so much, Paul. I think that's a big emphasis. We really want to empower the microconference leaders as well to help us in some of the chores that we have there, some of the decisions that need to be made. Elena is a big proponent that always said, we need to really empower them as much as possible. So we're going to ask a bunch of questions. There's a lot of back and forth. If you have proposed a microconference, you already know how much Stephen Rosted has been on your case for a lot of that. So it's a collaborative effort. A lot of points are still open. This is why this is our first town hall meeting. We wanted to demonstrate to you guys that we're trying to get to a good place. We want to let you know what was decided and what is still very much open. And these points here are very much alongst that. So here is a good example. I had prepared one earlier thinking some of those questions might come up. So if we were to give the audience a chance to chime in, how long do you think microconferences should be while they're online? Can you last for 4 hours? Would you do a day-long session? Do you think 2 hours is the most your attention span would allow? Depending on how many presenters are, just spontaneously, where do you think those numbers would land? We're very curious. For those of you that might not remember, we've been hovering around 3 hours when we're doing microconferences in person on site in the past.
Guy, what's the difference between C and B?
Oh, it's 2 a.m. is the difference. I was told this question needed to be revamped, and I changed the options. It was meant to be 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry about that. Nobody proofread my slides, so here, I'll just change that for, see, this is what you can do with this. We'll do 5 hours. Well, somebody said 6 people say 6. It's okay, we'll just still do that. Then I'll stretch this off. Look at that. You can just do this. Something like that. It wasn't intentional. It was a mistake on my part. I modified that slide way too late. I was on. For the very many of you that don't know here, I have a 2-month-old baby at home, and I was in between baby duties and trying to fix the slides. So this is why you have a repeat answer here. Interestingly enough, the vast majority of the people here voted for that 3-hour slot before I changed it to 5 hours as well. So we have 40 answers. I'll just show these results. So this is what it looks like. Again, see, this is a pretty powerful feature when you're looking at struts, or you're looking at API definitions, or if you're looking at opinions about certain threads or things needing to be approved or disapproved. You can actually bake that in your slides and actually get people interacting very easily that way. We had 45 people contribute to that poll right now in a very easy way. So imagine what you could do in your referee talk, or what you could do in a micro conference if you organize your content that way. Mike, thank you for pointing that out. You pay more attention than anybody in the committee here. All right, here is another one. I see the idea. Would you like to take part in a social hour if we were to host something like that as part of Plumbers? So if we invited people to come and actually do something silly like this, something simple, lightweight, jovial, bring your own drink, BYOB, BYOW for James, and have people do that. I'd be curious to see what interest we might garner on that. We know that there's a bunch of places where there's a lot of us not too far from each other. We have hotspots, Puno, for example, Boston, Seattle, Portland. There's a bunch of us in New York, not too far. From Pennsylvania to me, Connecticut, the guys in Long Island, and so on. So we're just thinking about maybe a social hour would be something somewhat interesting, and we'll see what other people think.
What does D mean?
It was just a joke. It was just a joke because initially I was actually literally thinking if we hosted a small gathering in a few of those cities in person, would you go? Like if we actually offered to pay for happy hour, 1 drink or 2 drink per person in Berlin, hosted by Christian, would you go see his face, and get some good beer? Or you could come to New York and I could host you and you could have really bad beer. So that was kind of the idea initially. I'll close that out. We again have about 50 respondents. I'll wait for 2 more of you to give me an answer. Come on, there's 2 more out there that have an answer in them that haven't provided them yet. There we go. All right, so see, people seem to think this would be a pretty good idea. Over 75%, I would say that they actually probably would participate. So this is quite exciting. Maybe that would be one way to bring the social back into Plumbers in some form. There are some features of the platform we've kept away from you guys that might enable do that in a fairly nice way. So again, thank you for participating in those polls. The polls apparently work quite well, and I'm glad about that. So I bored you to death in the first town hall. This was just a technical thing. I'll be honest with all of you. I didn't think we would make it that far. I was sure something would have broken by now. That's why I didn't even spell check those slides at this point. More seriously, John has offered to do a weather report for us in July. Probably in the second half. We're looking at maybe the 16th as a potential date. We will announce it on the blog, so we can bring everybody back here and give you a quick update on what we decided since then, what we've learned from this session, what our takeaways were, and how much progress we've made on some of those decisions. So this was one slide where I wanted to give people the opportunity to chime in a little bit and maybe break us by enabling my webcams. So if I could ask a whole bunch of you to stand up your shared webcams, click on that little icon at the bottom of your screen, and let's see what it looks like when we have like 2,000 or 3,000 people activating their webcams at the same time, and see what kind of workloads on the server that generates. As people do that, I will remind people that the whole UI can be moved around. You'll see there is a bunch of full screen icons all over the place. You can maximize a single person, the person that's speaking, somebody else, yourself. You can minimize, maximize the slides. You can make the slides disappear. If you click on that little blue square on the top right corner of the hide presentation feature, it will disappear, and then you just see the webcams, so you can maximize the screen real estate for that. You can also collapse the polling and the public chat and the user views by clicking on the little user icon on the very top left corner of the screen. So if you click on that little figure on the top left corner, now you're just left with what looks like a more typical Zoom or Google Meet view, where you just have the webcams taking up all of the screen real estate, and you can see the webcams coming on and off. If you want to turn the presentation back on, there's a little restore presentation button on the lower right corner. Everything is resizable, so if you move your mouse around, you'll find a place where the cursor turns into a resize cursor, and you can scroll that around. You know what? I'm gonna generate that stupid screen repeat view thing so you can see what I'm talking about. I'm gonna manipulate that one over there.
So while we're doing that, we should get comments, because one of the things that will make this work interactively is the fact that audio mixing should be seamless.
As much as possible.
Try to speak over each other?
Yes, that's why I'm speaking over you. Christian is good at that, and Laura as well, and Paul and Jonathan. Maybe we can get started.
How many people want to talk at the same time?
As many as possible.
Oh my goodness. Remember, like you do it on us, so you just talk over people until they stop talking, right?
Should we start singing?
We can break it if we want for one.
How much is it worth to you for me not to sing?
The key for
Videos
interaction
should be
here is
told you.
that the round trip is short and the mixing is good.
Yes.
So everybody experiencing something pretty much like that.
You can also click on the person's name on a frame to focus on the person.
So we do have a development action item for the big blue button to get autofocus to work, but the way this thing currently works is it doesn't. You have to select manual focus. If you click on the name bar on the video, you'll see that you get an option to focus just that video. And yeah, this is a bit suboptimal. It works when one person is presenting. It's not going to work very well. We have is that the actual video screens that you see are just sorted in order of join. So you don't see when somebody pipes up who's way down at the top bottom right, it's sort of difficult to find them in a large grid view. So one of the other things we were looking at is to see if the videos could be sorted by last person speaking. But this is all open source, so you don't have to rely on us trying to pay somebody or beg somebody to do it. You can look at it yourself if you like. After all, you are supposed to be proving your open source talent here.
While trying to screen share, my client crashed, so at least we had one failure today. That's exciting. I think the webcam sharing through, anyway, it's okay. Thank you so much. So we had a few users. I don't know, John, if you can take a look at, yeah. This is a pledge drive. Funny. If you can look at the statistics with that many channels coming on, it's I can see some people. It's actually funny. I have 3 different clients connected here, and I see different webcams from different users. So obviously, the stream muxing through the SFU is not working super well. I'm losing some people that are not appearing. It's not you. It's me. It's not me. It's you. It's just. Remember, this is WebRTC, so your local web browser client chooses which stream it actually manages to receive or not receive. And so when you see the spinning icons, it's just a connection between our server and your client, not the webcam output. So your mileage might vary. All right.
So just for what it is worth, the server never really sweated all that hard during this whole exercise. That's really not where the bottleneck is when it comes to a lot of video windows.
Nope, it's going to be the clients, like we estimated very early on. It's going to be the clients are going to be our issue. There are ways to address that. It's a big amount of work, but I was just wondering, John, can you see what the bandwidth usage is at some point if it's convenient as well? Because that is one thing we're using a fair amount of. Everybody is talking to the server at the same time. So right now with these 15 or so webcams, that's my math is hard, almost 3,000 threads that are going in and out of the server right now, because you separate audio, video, screen sharing, and so on. Anyway,
yeah, I'll be able to see what it is after the fact. I don't have any kind of ongoing monitoring set up.
Oh, interesting. Somebody had a media server has no available resources. Look at that. We can look at that. And Toke is telling us that.
Cornelia, she doesn't have a video enabled. Oh, I think one of the things we should also mention is about naming of the thing. So on this, you all got to choose your own names. Just because of ease of interaction in the community, when we move to the authenticated version, you'll see the name that you chose when you registered, and you likely won't be able to change it.
Thank you so much for joining, Mike. Okay, so we're coming close to the top of the hour. I don't want to lose too many people at the end of the presentation. Again, this is it. The last slide is here. I'll let people mess around by turning on the screen sharing if you want to so do that and draw your thank yous or regrets or however you'd like to do that. Let's stress the machine a little bit again. Please do not deface our sponsors' logos. Laura, do you want to say a quick thing towards the end of this? Maybe you can invite more people to participate with their microphones on. Maybe we should invite a song. Is there a song that we should sing, or do you have a better idea for having more people shouting out?
I mean, I think we've definitely demonstrated that we've had a lot of people talking. I mean, perhaps we can try and do a gigantic rock, paper, scissors game. I don't know, we all shout rock, paper, scissors, shoot at the same time and then try and see that way.
Yeah, I like that.
Don't take my suggestions seriously.
But I'm very.
It also sounds like an awful lot of people have audio just kind of dropping off. So I think we may have actually begun to hit the limits of what we found with just this amount of people. So, and your stream finally came back from ED, so.
Okay, yeah, I think we have a few ideas of things we can optimize. I'm gonna continue to put pressure on the multimedia team at Collabora to help us with that. I think that splitting out the current host services on the different nodes and tuning the SFU will be a very clear next step for us for the very next session.
So Guy, put up a call if you could. How many people have audio currently? It would be useful to see how much we've lost.
I don't have.
I have audio.
Yeah.
Audio. Yeah.
Can you? There is a simple thing you can do, people, if you don't mind for me. If you click on your own icon on the users list on the very left corner, and if you put your status to, you can choose a set status, and then you can pick, and you set happy or thumbs up for having audio. If everybody set themselves to happy or thumbs up, we can see how many people still hear me. And the people that can't hear me would have not done that, or they just don't know. So it looks most people still have audio. It's probably intermittent. If you lose the stream for just my stream on the playback, that's probably the main one you hear. But then other people might be there, you just can't hear them because I've been monopolizing the audio time. All right. We are 3 minutes to the top of the hour. I'm going to reset this because you guys are no artists. And I'm probably the worst. Here we go. I'll give you a clear canvas instead.
That's censorship. You were drawing so nicely.
I'm giving you a blank canvas. Hold on. There it is. I'll reset this one. Then you have more room. There you go.
In my case, it's not censorship, it's the right to be forgotten.
So again, we have the ability to upload multiple content for microconferences. This is particularly useful because each people that would want to share a couple of slides for what they're working on or the issues they want to discuss, they can do that separately, and you can quickly switch between different presentations. You can make it possible for the participants to download them. You can upload them at any time during the talk, which is another very nice ability. And there's a bunch of other nice features like that we're still exploring. Like I said, while we do the actual thing, we will probably be using moderation to be careful. And yes, there's a question, what about YouTube? So because this is a one session, we are YouTube live streaming that one session right now. You can actually see yourself on YouTube if you want to go and find the URL there. But we still need to explore how we would do that if we run 4 or 5 parallel tracks at any given time, we'll need to find a way to headlessly stream from here to there. There's a few different solutions. Some people have done that natively on Linux. Again, that's a criteria for us. So we're looking at ways to potentially do that. Or maybe not. If we just have the right number of users, maybe we bring everybody to the interactive platform. We will decide that together. All right. I'll shout out one more time for questions. Anybody wants to say anything?
I suppose it's not really a question, it's more of a comment. You just need to make sure that you control your background when you're actually projecting yourself. You don't want, for instance, like Jake, to have a load of underwear appearing on your bed behind you.
There you
Thanks,
go.
Jake. By the way, that gesture is not in conformance with our code of conduct.
In the case of Jake, you need to make sure the foreground, the subject, and the background stays in check. That's your mistake, James. You weren't specific enough. See, you. Good to see you, buddy.
You asked me to turn on my webcam. I had to put on a shirt before I did it.
It's on me. It's on me. On me.
Okay, I'm very grateful you didn't break my screen by not putting a shirt on. So thank you for that.
All right, everyone. Christian, you want to say something?
Well, I think that went pretty well so far, I think.
I agree. All right, on that, I want to thank you all so very, very much for being patient with us, for being very understanding with me. I want a big shout out to Jonathan Corbett at LWN, member of the committee, for making this possible. This is 100% his work, and we owe you a huge debt of gratitude. Thanks to all the members to the LPC committee that have been doing this for so long and giving me a small chance to be a part of that. We wish you all a wonderful end of week and weekend. We will announce on the blog and the LPC announce mailing lists when the next session will be. John will be presenting the weather report, and we'll take it from there. I wish everybody goodbye. Cheers. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Enjoy. Cheers.
Bye. Well.
You are now muted.
Okay. What's it final words for you?
Button.
The cake is a lie. I repeat, the cake is a lie.
I appreciate the Portal references.
You are now.
Somebody! Thank you so much. I thought that would be a good fit. I don't know. I never played the game, but I thought it would be funny.
That's fantastic.
You work on multimedia and you've never had to test everything with Portal?
Actually, yes. So I have I had to. You can actually find it online. I had to do a Steam OS demo at the New York Log. And I had to create a Valve account literally 2 hours before I did the presentation because I didn't have one. And I played Portal for the first time. But now I must be on like level, I don't know how much. So every time I test a new system, a new GPU or a new device, that's my reference device game thingy. So I've played it. I know the game, but I've never really played the game. So yeah.
Hey, finally I could join. Yay!
There she is. There she is. It wouldn't be complete without you.
It's my fault. I have a gazillion things running on my laptop, so this one just killed it completely.
You should see. So I have 6 clients running on this machine: the webcasting, the live streaming tabs. And it's not even breaking a sweat. So I'm feeling very fortunate there. Somebody's showing their drawing skills. This is very nice. It actually looks like the what's that 3D printer logo company? I forgot their name. Anyway, again, thanks everybody for sticking around and helping us make this possible. I don't see how to save the notes option. So if you click on notes, it's the very last icon on the right with the 2 arrows, import, export in different file formats. And then when you say export, you can export to PDF, export to HTML, etc. It generates that file and you can just save that.
Yeah, I finally found that.
I think it gets captured in the video recording as well. I think.
But we need to be careful. I haven't looked at those are real Etherpads, so we can go in the backend and find them back on the Etherpad server. This is literally just an iframe that gets thrown in there right now. Yep. Who's still with us? Sebastian, hello, my friend. I want to say thank you so much to Sebastian for helping me test this last night. He actually found a bunch of small bugs that we were able to address together. So thank you, Sebastian, for helping with that. And Mark as well for noticing issues with the live stream, which we all addressed before we came here on as well. So that was pretty neat. I don't know if I don't even have the live stream open. Let's see what that looks like. I don't even know where they are. Oh, it says live now. This is cool. Yep, right there. All right, I will end the live stream now. Thank you everybody who watched the live stream. And then I will end the session over here.